Born in Coventry, England, 1922, the poet Philip Larkin would become one of England's post-World War II's most famous poets. He has become known as writing poetry from which even people who distrust poetry can take comfort and delight from his tendency to write about common people in the modern age, and his focus on such reality-based themes as love's failure, the erosion of religious and national abutments, and the loneliness of age and death. Graduating from St. John's College in Oxford, Larkin studied to become a librarian, and he would work in libraries until his death in 1985.
I envy you, very much, being a librarian. I think it'd be a marvellous thing to have a job to fall back on.
It forces you to think about something other than yourself, something other than your own poems, and that is positively good for you, I think, even as a poet. And secondly, of course, and the whole business releases you from that awful pressure that I imagine you must feel sometimes of just having to write something to carry on living.
My goodness, it is a pressure.
As a poet, Larkin would only publish 4 small volumes of work: The North Ship, The Less Deceived, The Whitsun Weddings, and High Windows, along with 2 novels, Jill and A Girl in the Winter, and critical articles pertaining to jazz, which were eventually compiled into All What Jazz, a Record Diary. Although he only published a small amount of work, he became popular for his utilization of the traditional tools of poetry, such as rhyme, stanza, and meter, in order to explore the aforementioned topics typically seen as uncomfortable or terrifying, stating that deprivation is for me what daffodils were for Wordsworth.
I find that when I come here on a wet Sunday afternoon in December or something like that, when it isn't at all romantic, it gets me into perspective, it gets my worries into perspective, and everything I write, I think, has the consciousness of approaching death in the background.
You get it?
Although he was originally enchanted by W.B. Yeats's works, after the Second World War he became more interested in the writings by Thomas Hardy, discrediting the former by saying, "Yeats came to seem so artificial. All that crap about masks and Crazy Jane and all the rest, it all rang so completely unreal."
I was ploughing on with a kind of Yeats and water until I was about 26 or 7. I was looking at some of it the other day, and it astonished me. It's not so much that it's bad, but it was so unreal and without any possible reference to my own life as I was living it.
He was also not a fan of the works put out by the modernist Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot, feeling that verse should be written in a more plain style than overdone with allusions. He became the dominant figure of the movement, a group of university poets that served as a counter to the popularity of poets like Dylan Thomas, who emphasized high-flown, apocalyptic rhetoric. Instead, poetry for Larkin was an affair of sanity, of seeing things as they are. I don't want to transcend the commonplace. I love the commonplace life. Everyday things are lovely to me.